If you threw a kraken into a modern ocean, could it dominate it? You opened your eyes and felt a sharp pain. You were trapped in a trawl net, and the only tentacle sticking out was being eaten by two tiger shark pups. The mighty kraken had become someone else's food. The pain made you thrash desperately, but the more you struggled, the tighter the net became. The pups outside suddenly yanked, tearing a hole in the net, yet the tentacle stayed clamped in their jaws. You bit through the tentacle yourself, and the two pups kept fighting over the severed piece. You slipped through the hole and sank into the skeleton. A pup followed, then an adult tiger shark missing a rib on its head. You reached the outside of the skeleton, but your head would not fit between the dense ribs. The adult tiger shark did not force its way through. It simply stared at you through the ribs for a few seconds, called the two pups, and vanished into the black water. You survived, but you were missing a tentacle. Your severed stump still bled, and the smell of blood quickly drew a nearly 2-meter shark. Fully stretched, you measured 3 or 4 meters, yet most of that length was tentacles. Your real weight was less than the shark's. It lunged at the skeleton and bit. 7 tentacles pressed against the wound of the severed stump. Only the first 3 managed a weak grip. The shark lunged forward, dragging you and slamming you against the bones. The suckers tore free one after another. Having tasted flesh, the shark turned at once. This time you first used 3 tentacles to clamp hard onto the ribs beside you, letting the remaining 4 wrap the shark at the same moment. The shark thrashed its tail wildly while the 4 tentacles guided it toward the center of its body, and the tips bit into its gill arches. The moment the shark stopped struggling, you tore off a chunk of flesh. In less than an hour, you had been bitten by 3 mouths. You did not know where you were, only that you did not want to stay. You wanted to go home. The seawater of your homeland was colder and under far greater pressure. You left the bones and began descending the slope of the seabed. On the 7th day, the open wound regenerated. Tentacles, muscles, suckers, and nerves all returned. Losing a tentacle had been nothing more than a 7-day inconvenience. The deeper you went, the weaker the light became. You clung to the rocks and your skin rapidly took on the exact color of the stone. A school of deep sea fish swam above you. 8 tentacles shot out at once. In the blink of an eye, 4 tentacles from the same direction seized you. Most of your nerves lived in the tentacles. You only needed to decide to act. They did the rest by themselves. A few months later, your body had grown larger, but the real problem arrived. An adult succubus charged straight at you. It did not need to see you. It used echolocation. No matter how perfectly your skin matched the stone, it was useless. You turned and fled. The echoes grew denser and denser. Every time they suddenly intensified, you veered hard. It missed again and again, each miss bringing it closer to the surface. After the 7th miss, its movement slowed. It had to return to the surface to breathe. You did not. It angled upward, but instead of diving deeper, you pursued from below. 8 tentacles tightened at the same instant and seized the massive square head. It began to roll, smashing you against the rock wall. You neither bit nor released. You simply pressed rows of suckers into its skin. You endured 2 impacts. Before the 3rd crash against the rock, you suddenly let go and drifted toward the surface, leaving white ring marks on its head. You still could not kill it, but it was enough for the creature to remember you were not food. You kept descending. The place you sought still lay below. After a long time, a larger figure appeared ahead, surrounded by many tentacles. You thought you had finally found one of your own and approached willingly. It was the first body so similar to yours you had seen since arriving. You neither fled nor changed color. You slowly unfurled 8 tentacles and extended one toward it. The other extended 2 long tentacles in answer. You thought it was responding, until the next second the hooks on its suckers snapped upward, punched into your flesh, and dragged you toward its shoulder. It was not your species. It was a giant guinea pig heavier than you. The more you pulled back, the deeper the hooks dug. Suddenly you charged. Before its 2 long tentacles could fully retract, yours had already seized its head. Its 8 short tentacles wrapped around you as well, hooks piercing your body one after another. But before it could bite, you had already bitten into its head. It rolled and forced you to roll with it, yet you did not release until every one of its tentacles fell limp. You touched it again with the tentacle you had first extended. Still no response. A few seconds later, you carried it to your mouth. It was the first thing you had swallowed since arriving in this age. Afterward, you searched several trenches, but none led home. This one, however, kept going deeper and deeper. So deep that even the scent that had originally trapped you could not be washed away. When a tentacle finally touched bottom, you were in the Challenger Deep, more than 10,000 meters down. This was the deepest point of the modern ocean. If home was not here, there was nowhere left to look. The tentacle that reached into the crack at the valley floor brought back only mud and sand. Just as you prepared to leave, one tentacle brushed a thick plate. You swept the sediment aside and revealed a skeleton covered in massive cranial armor and guillotine-shaped plates. It was a Dunkleosteus, something that should have vanished 400 million years ago. Between the plates, a little flesh still remained, not yet fully decayed. It was not a mollusk. Not long ago, stone had still been alive. You pressed your suckers into the cracks of the bones. Suckers do more than grip. They taste the water. The seawater flowing through the skeleton carried more than one ancient scent that did not belong to the Dunkleosteus. You released the bony plates and swam upward, following the thickening trail of those scents. The aromas that did not belong to this era came from more open water. Months later, the trail led you into shallow sea. A series of familiar cries suddenly rang out to your left. The scent still lay straight ahead, but the cries were fading. You paused a few seconds, turned left, and followed the sound. You saw the stone tiger spirit herding a group of living squid toward the outermost edge of the sea. Becky was missing a leg. Among them were the two juvenile spirits that had once bitten your tentacle. They had grown into young tiger spirits. More than a year had passed since you bit off your own tentacle inside the net. You were still not fully adult, yet a single tentacle was already nearly as long as an adult tiger spirit. You rose from below. Several sharp clicks raced through your body. The horned tiger spirit leading the entire horde scattered and surrounded you. They moved in turns, charging, biting, then leaving, never lingering where suckers could lock on. Your 8 tentacles could cover 8 directions, but there were 10 tiger spirits. After several rounds of attacks, your tentacles and face carried wounds. One tiger spirit clamped onto a facial wound and would not let go. 2 tentacles seized the chance. One locked tight, the other pressed against its chest and twisted violently the opposite way. After a few heavy thuds, it stopped moving. For the first time, the horde halted. The horned tiger spirit let out a rapid series of cries and the circle tightened again. The 2 youngest tiger spirits also bit the same tentacles side by side and began dragging you outward the way they once had. Back then, the net had held your body. You could only leave tentacles behind. Now nothing in the horde restrained you. With a sudden explosion of force, the tentacles lunged. Before the 2 young tiger spirits could react, they were already wrapped. Several tentacles contracted at once and the 2 spirits sank one after the other. Seeing this, the horned tiger spirit charged straight at you. The instant it was in front of you, 8 tentacles closed from every side, enveloping head and body. The tentacles tightened and your body began to twist. You lashed your tail violently several times, then went still. The missing tiger spirit slipped free between the tentacles. The remaining 6 did not approach. They fled at once. Once you had bitten off one of your own tentacles to escape, this time all 8 remained intact. The cries of the tiger spirits faded gradually. You did not pursue them. You turned back towards your original direction. As you drew closer, you finally separated the mixed aura into 3 distinct sources. One from a shark, one from some kind of large marine reptile, and the last from an ancient giant spirit. None belonged to this ocean, and none should have existed in this era. You swam toward the point where the 3 auras converged. If they could reach this place, that stretch of sea might contain the road home. Just then, one of the auras thickened suddenly. Something was swimming toward you from the front.